But then
we might have to move inwards a little bit.
You know, we need to use the iPad as a mic because
So maybe we'll
we don't have enough text.
Just sit closer to your jacket.
Okay, let's all be closer. I'm scared we're gonna get like the mic scraping thing again if we do.
just put it in the middle. I think it's good enough.
Good enough.
Jackie.
You know what? We don't have a mic because we don't know how to use the mics.
Well,
And only one
Why
person
does
knows
it
how to
look
use
like
the mic.
this?
Alright.
I think we can
Like
put
this.
it right in
I can't
this.
see you, Sherry. Can you move like towards Jackie? A little bit like this. And then two.
Bros. Okay.
Okay, I think so.
Who? You do the opening. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Bros.
Welcome to the
Which episode is
something something episode.
The sequel.
The
Yeah, the sequel of
Shake.
Jackie.
Shake Part 2.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Let's speak English, please.
What is it? Jackie Pool? Suggestion? You're not taking it. On this episode, we're gonna keep talking about adaptations. Clap, everyone.
Yay. So, what did we leave off last time?
What did we leave off?
I think we talked about the differences between books and film and how they appeal to people. But I don't think we went very deep into like the production of a film. Only you touched on that.
So, yeah, I think that, film, like, if you want to encourage people reading, I think film adaptation is a very, it has this appeal to people, right? And that a lot of people who don't read but are interested in stories, I think this is a very good first step for them. But then if you say, oh, if people don't like stories at all, then I don't think film adaptations would do anything good to them, right? So I think it boils down to what kind of person you are. If you are innately curious about stories, you want to find out what happens to different people, then, and if you find the book too long, too time-consuming to read, then film adaptations I think is a very good start.
But then that depends on the person, right? I think honestly, to be fair, people who aren't interested in stories, people who aren't interested in like the characters or whatever, they're not gonna be persuaded by anyone.
I know a lot of people improve language like back then. Like a lot of people like told us like, oh, if you're not that into books and you still want to improve language skills, you should just turn on, you should watch a movie and turn on the subtitles and you can read the subtitles as like a starting point. So I think that would be good. And I think there is a reason why people that like to watch anime, they have like a certain proficiency in English or perhaps just proficiency in language in general because they look at a lot of like translates in anime and also they read subtitles. So I think that is a good point to start.
Can we think of some examples of film adaptations where after watching them people would really want to read the original book?
I think the biggest or the most prominent example I can think of right now, Harry Potter. It's such it's the most like it's the biggest franchise out there, and then like I think the movies really like in the 90s
To 2000s.
No, it's too. I think if my memory serves me right, it should be the early 2000s. Yes.
Okay.
You see, and it really like
She's like, damn, not that old.
yeah, I thought it was super old, but then it really pushed Harry Potter to like a really popular, like an entire generation of millennials. They're so like into Harry Potter. They get those like Gryffindor quizzes, bro.
Yeah, it's in their Instagram bios and everything. It's like our MBTI.
So I think this is honestly, I think movie adaptations like that, they really do encourage people to read the book.
Yeah.
What other examples are there?
I mean, personally, not a great adaptation, but Percy Jackson.
Oh, the
Yeah.
bad one.
Yes.
That's a horrible one. Such a trash.
Yeah.
Atrocious.
You know, with how people keep on critiquing it and talking about the movies, it does make people want to read the actual book to see if it's really as terrible as the movies or much better than what they expect.
So I will say, whether or not the adaptations are good or bad, they still attract a sort of
Attention towards the book.
yes.
So I'm curious, what makes Percy Jackson as a book franchise so successful, whereas the movie adaptation is so
unsuccessful.
blasphemous to a lot of faithful readers?
Okay, first of all, as a movie itself, it's not even good. So they failed in both aspects. You know, they didn't satisfy anyone with this. I think they tried too hard to combine everything into one movie, and they tried to do too much instead of just being like staying faithful to the original story. So the plot was modified. None of the characters looked like the actual, like the actors didn't look like the characters in the book, and you know nothing was kept the same. So it was like, what's the point of watching this if you didn't try? That was the impression that people got. Like even for example, Annabeth. Normal, if you haven't read the book, you would think that it's fine because you know why does hair color matter, right? But then the thing is, in the book, her hair color does matter because she had to, for example, like evade like the entire like dumb blonde stereotype to try. Actually, isn't trying to prove herself or anything, but she's like trying to make sure that people do know that she's confident.
Break the stereotype.
Yeah, and
With the princess curls.
yeah, so she has to deal with all that, like with her family and also like at school, not in Canada, like though, but at some point like, she also has to face some sort of thing like that until she stayed there long enough to get the recognition that she deserves.
I think essentially everyone just had a lot of expectations poured towards that movie, and when they delivered something that was not satisfactory in any aspect at all, then everyone was just like, oh, this is terrible. We hate it so much.
So I think it goes back to our discussion last time, because films as a format, it has a lot of time limitation. Is one of the biggest enemy of films, right? If it is too long, then people lose their focus. So why does the Percy Jackson film, include so many things, or to modify a lot in terms of plot? Is that it wants to squeeze a lot of ideas into a 2-hour movie, right? And by doing so, it creates a lot of stereotypical archetypes. Whereas in books, they have a lot more freedom and length to create something out of the ordinary. So I think that we can't say for sure, oh, now because there are so many short films, right, short videos, that they can replace books. They can't, because they have two different formats. And with a given format, there's so much that you can do. So to some people, they want to have a fast food kind of entertainment when they go to the cinema, right? Oh, I want to watch a film. Or they tell me what this character belongs to. Oh, the archetype of, A. And then this character, the archetype of B. And then I'll just go and enjoy what you have to offer, right? But then for books, you can savor it. And then you can, just like Harry Potter, right? There are so many minor characters in Harry Potter that is so interesting, right? Like Malfoy. Malfoy is such a
Everyone's so in love with him.
such a conflicting character, right? But that internal conflict cannot be faithfully represented in films because of the length of the format, right? So I think that they are complementary. They cannot replace one another. But then, that's what I think.
Do you think people should go to the cinema to appreciate like a movie adaptation as like specifically like its own movie, or as something that is created for the readers? Because a lot of people complain about how movies aren't just made for readers. They're made for everyone to enjoy in general. And if they put too much detail or too much of like things, accuracy into things readers may enjoy, that may not appeal to like everyone else. And that's that's like the explanation that a lot of directors do come up with when they talk about accuracy.
Yeah, I think sometimes I can understand that. Like, of course, the book and the film, they're literally two different things. And how the filmmakers decide to honor the book is also their own decisions, right? But then I feel like some, again, nuance. Like, for example, you have something like A Clockwork Orange, right? So, so then,
Can you watch it?
I mean, I personally did. Anyways, I think I just so in terms of the movies, they did try to include what the book has to offer and what they mean, but at the same time, it also comes across as like a completely opposite message for some people because, like in the original book, they're trying to bring out like the moral conflicts of like the main character
But
and
the film is more like a frenzy.
yes. So it's like the film is trying to portray like how like violence is encouraged and what they're like doing, and that's like the limits to it. But then that's not what the only thing that the film is trying to talk about. It's like what happens like after violence and with the violence, you know. So they really fail to like offer that. But then at the same time, for something else like Cthulhu, you know, like
I don't know that either.
it's a Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft. So then, yeah. So he has the original author, he writes a lot of different types of imagery, even though it might not actually be that important to the plot. But then, so then a lot of people really struggle to get through those first two pages because they keep having to go through all of this imagery, not really knowing where it goes. But then with a movie, then they can just show it, you know. So that makes it a lot shorter and easier for people to understand and to see.
You know, in my personal opinion, that's just me. It's just me though. You know, it's not. I don't speak for everyone. But when I judge an adaptation of like a book, I usually decide whether or not I like it by how effective it is, and that goes for like. I interpret it differently because I think it depends on what the director wanted to achieve with the adaptation, and sometimes it's very obvious that they're going in different directions. The reason I don't like Percy Jackson is because I feel like the directors wanted something that would appeal to the masses and they couldn't do it. And in a way, I don't think it's wrong that they needed to stray from the original work. I think that I can appreciate when a production team does that, but does it effectively. And I can also appreciate directors that try to take the accuracy approach and they do that effectively as well. It depends on what the directors wanted to do with that piece of content, because I feel like there's no wrong way to take it. It's their choice, right? But if you don't do what you try to do, then that's what I classify as a failure.
I think they have to strike a balance. Obviously, a film is a commercial product. You have to target a broader audience. Otherwise, they're not going to make their money back, right? And we will be back on that topic as well. But at the same time, if you're using the film as an adaptation, then obviously you have to do some degree of fan service. You can't neglect the fans and say, oh, I'm using this IP, this franchise, and then I'm going to make something new, right? Snow White, and then I'm going to put a man to it as the protagonist. You can't do that, right? The name itself is not just an idea, but it's a legacy to a lot of people. So you have to strike a balance between doing it for fans and doing it for the mass public. Going back to the issue of money, I think because the cost of making a film is so much greater than publishing a book, so a lot of film producers, they really want to stick to the original source faithfully, but then whether the company behind or the investors behind, they're willing to do that is another story. Sometimes they just try it one step at a time. They throw a movie and then see if people like it, and if people like it, then they keep investing in it. It's not like they already have a trilogy in mind. Oh, part one, I'm going to do this. Part two, I'm going to do this. Part three, I'm going to do this. No, most likely they're going to throw whatever people find interesting in the source material and then put it in a cauldron and then make a movie and see if people like it. Oh, if people like it, then we're making a sequel.
That's why so many like really good shows, they just stop producing or like they get cancelled after like the first seasons. Or like movies as well.
Because they didn't grab enough attention at the start.
Yeah, a lot of stuff get cancelled and then after a while, like it actually gets in the spotlight.
Go to the Netflix comment section, and you can see how many people are
Some
upset.
people are gonna be so disappointed as well.
It's kind of like Twilight, even though I wouldn't say that the book is not great.
Twilight?
No, Twilight is like,
Oh, that's
people
another
critique,
thing. Yeah.
like people critique the books so much, and you would expect that the film it might be better, like that's what a lot of people wanted. And for the fans who liked Twilight, they were like, oh my god, they're gonna see some. But then like the thing is, when they finish watching the movies, even the fans of Twilight don't even like the movie.
That's why they say like they changed the character of Edward Cullen so much into this like.
So don't you think that when you read a story, there is some essence within the character that is essentially untouchable?
No,
That's what makes the character
The character.
human and that draw our connection, emotional connection.
Yeah.
So what are the characteristics or what are the essences of characters that draw us into a story?
What is the
For
essence?
example, in Harry Potter, Ginny.
Oh yeah.
You know how people hated her character in the movies but loved her character in the books? I think it's because they completely missed the point of her character. She wasn't supposed to be a girl that was like in love with Harry from the start and was super submissive to him and whatever he did, it was like, oh, I'll get you a biscuit or whatever. She wasn't like that. She was really bold and she had great character development throughout the series. Where she went from like a really meek girl in the second book to that. So
Oh no.
we don't care about. Oh wait, it's yes time.
It's fine.
We don't care.
It's fine.
So let's wrap up then.
So I would say, do you want to wrap up?
What can we do on that?
Well, movie adaptations in the end, there are some good points and some bad points, and then it's also understandable how movies adaptations may not be that successful because of
Between catering to mass appeal and also to the original fans of the canon work. And what else?
and
And I think that they are complementary.
Yes.
And also sometimes some stories may not be perfectly suited for a cinema format.
yes.
And that reading allows us to have a broader degree of imagination, and that films tend to lead us to certain directions crafted by the director. Right? So I think that if you like reading, go reading, obviously. But if you think that I'm interested in stories, but I find reading time consuming, maybe start with film, and then dive into the actual world of reading.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this podcast.
Join our literary events.
Yes. And if you want Mr. Jacquet Kung to be back, please do put so in the comments.
Yes.
So happy reading. Bye.